Welcome to the Nerds in Christ podcast, where we level up our faith by finding the gospel in our favorite fandoms. Hey, what's up, nerds? This is Mike, your homeschool theologian, with Nerds in Christ, another podcast talking about nerdy stuff and Jesus. Who do I have with me?
This is Coach Brown. And Cameron.
Yeah.
Your name is Cameron?
Bible Man Cameron.
Awesome. So this is season 2.
There a movie called Bible Man?
No, yeah, there's a character.
It's a character.
Yeah, but like it's in like an older-ish.
It was like
movie.
It was like a cartoon.
No, it was around the same time as VeggieTales.
Yeah. But it was kind of shot at like Three Ninjas, like
sort of
early 90s.
I think there were a couple movies, maybe a TV show. He had something like a lightsaber as the sword of the spirit.
Yeah.
Super cheesy.
I'm Bible Man Cam.
Super cheesy. So this is season 2, episode 7. We are going to talk about good and evil. This is going to be kind of a hard podcast. I hope not, at least. But anyway, so the hook is light and dark, black and white, positive and negative, up and down, good and evil. So I wanted to say this caveat before we started that the main point that what we're going to talk about what fandoms get good and bad right, like the different fandoms and stuff that do it justice, I think. And then we're going to talk about kind of what the Bible says about good and evil, anti-heroes, the gray, all that kind of stuff.
You know what that hook literally just reminded me of?
What?
The Green Lantern corpse.
Oh, yeah.
In
Good
brightest
stuff.
day and darkest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
There's I don't remember. I think it's Psalm in the 90s. There's a Psalm that actually sounds a whole lot like that, which is really neat. Icebreaker. So what fandom do you think get good and evil right?
Get good and evil right.
Like, what do you think of when you hear good and evil? Like, what fandom?
Like, I mean, of course, the obvious when you first hear just, good and evil, light and dark, you think of, my mind goes to Star Wars, probably the first thing.
Yeah, same.
That's just off the top.
Yeah. Cam?
I think that's the perfect one. That's really the only one that's coming to my mind. Mm-hmm. Or like any of those, like Star Trek. Mm-hmm. Or any of those like series produced in like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right?
Yeah, where it had really defined.
It was. There was no grayscale, except in comics, because you kind of see like the rise of the anti-hero and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was very defined. Like, hey, this is a good guy and this is a bad guy.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings for me.
Lord of the Rings.
That's my thing. But yeah, all the bad guys are
Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah. The White Witch is a little bit different because you think she's kind of a good person, but especially in the beginning.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect one because you see, like, there is a drastic color difference. You have the bad people, which is the Wicked Witch, and she is green, wears black. She has a army of monkey men. Mm-hmm. And then you had Dorothy and, like, the loving characters. I think that, to me, I think that was really the first that I can think of good and evil.
Yeah, that's good. So level 1, sometimes it's as simple as black and white, simple as good and evil. So good and bad, right and wrong. So most of the time, the good guys, like in Star Wars, they wear white, they're beautiful, blonde hair, blue eyes, all that kind of stuff. Knights in shining armor. Immediately think of Captain America and Superman. I mean, those are
ultimate good.
Obviously good guys. Yeah. You think of the good guy, you think of them. And then so evil, opposite of that. So figures wearing black, sometimes red, sometimes with horns.
You got like the Red Skull, and you have General Zod or Lex Luthor.
Yeah. So they, live in the shadows, nighttime, Dracula, vampires, like all that kind of bad stuff. You think of a dragon, right? Evil, serpent, all that kind of stuff. And that's like throughout all kinds of different cultures is serpents and dragons. They're bad. Like that's just known. Just lost all my notes.
But it's true. I mean,
technology.
And that's something as society continues, it's starting to go away because in movies, you could tell who the main good guy was for the longest time by how they dressed, how they acted. And you knew who the bad guy was going to be because of how they dressed, how they acted. Now those lines are so blurred that they want to create a gray area where, oh, well, a good guy to be good sometimes does not so good things. It's like, no, you're incorruptible good. And I know for a while that made me not like Captain America as much. My wife loves him. I'm more of an Iron Man fan because he kind of toys with that.
Yeah.
He's cocky, but yet he does good. But if you look at how he started out, he sold weapons. He didn't sell them to the bad guys. His partner did, but he was a playboy. He just manipulated women in the sense of he could get what he wanted. He drank all the time, did all this stuff. And it's like, so was he actually a good guy back then?
Right.
But as you see him progress towards the latter movies, because that's how I know him best, is the movies. You see how
he really grew.
he becomes that incorruptible kind of, he does some like, oh, we need to create like the idea of Ultron. Ultimately, it was a good idea, but it was technically a really bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ultron's
Concept
like,
good.
well, the greatest threat to humanity is humanity. So to do that, I got to kill humanity.
Or you look at War Games, the movie from, what is that, the 80s?
Yeah.
Like 86, 87-ish. They create the AI, and he's like, wait a second, the greatest enemy is the people who made me.
Whoa. If that's not where we're living right now.
Yeah, that's not where we're at right now. I don't know.
The Skynet is
So
mine.
we'll get more into a gray area and all that soon, the blurry lines. But so back to the pure evil, the Ganondorf, the Sauron characters, the One Ring, that like absolute power corrupts absolutely. That whole idea of just everything bad.
He-Man, Skeletor.
Skeletor is an easy bad guy. What's the Thundercat bad guy? Moomra. He's an easy bad guy. Like you just see him. Darth Maul, easy bad guy.
Killmonger from Black Panther.
Yeah, you just see them and you're like, okay, that's a bad guy. That's a good guy. I got it. And how back in the day that was just like the thing, but now I think it maybe started as you want to excite people, get people interested of like you see someone you think is a good guy, but then it changes and then it's suddenly a bad guy. It's like, oh, you got me off guard, that sort of thing.
And I think one of the newest things, spoiler alert, is like that episode of Fallout that just came out.
Yeah.
Where he's like acting and he's like, why do I have to shoot him? I always arrest him.
Yeah.
And the director's like, well, audiences think it'd be cooler if you kind of tiptoed and show that even as a good guy, you got to do some bad things every once in a while.
Yeah. In that, that's true.
And he really didn't like that because he's like, this isn't my character.
Right.
And in society today, there's a lot of people who don't get as many films as they once were because they won't do the stuff that they want. Like the gentleman who played, he played in Yellowstone, but he played in a lot of the Left Behind series. He played in The Shift. He won't. He doesn't cast slot because if there's a scene, he won't kiss anybody but his wife. He won't do anything unless it's his wife.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, no, we're not going to hire you for that.
Yeah, I'm just acting. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
No, like that's breaking what I think's right.
I think that's very, very good. And like the whole pop culture definition of evil is control or destroy. That's almost always what they're trying to do. So either control everything or destroy everything. Like the whole Thanos. We bring Thanos up a bunch. We'll bring him up in a minute. But so evil, kind of getting into like the theology of it. But evil is all about taking, destroying, and that sort of thing. And good is all about giving and creating. So I was thinking, we were actually driving to Murray yesterday, and I was thinking about this, and it made me think of like good, positive, and negative. It made me think of electrons. So geeky nerds out there, electrician here, but so I don't know a whole lot about it. Remember, I'm homeschooled. So you have electrons. And so a positive and negative on a battery, you would think that the positive would be moving away, right? But actually it needs more. So it needs from that way. And the negative side actually moves towards the positive side and creates that circuit. So the negative actually leaves and the positive needs more. So the good, the positive, and the whole cold and warm and cold, like good and evil, like trying to think of that. It's not that you're cold. It's that actually your warmth
Absence of heat
is leaving your body. Yeah, the absence of heat, and that's the I think best definition of good and evil is it's not good in this whole entity of bad. It's like actually just the opposite of good. Because when there is no good, when there is no light, it's dark.
then it's dark.
Darkness,
It's just the absence of light.
darkness and evil and all that. It just fills the void that good, if good ever leaves, it fills that void. So in most cases, good and evil are easily recognized, especially in Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, like we were talking about. You know, you have the good guys with the green and blue lightsaber and the bad guys with the red ones.
Well, that's like if you look at the beginning of Genesis when God created everything, he said it was
Yeah.
good, it was good, it was good. And then when he got to us, he said it was very good.
Yeah.
So we're inherently very good, but our forefathers, in the sense of Adam and Eve, they ate from the forbidden fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. Before that, we just knew what was good. We knew, hey, God told us to subdue and tame the world. But when we ate that apple, we opened the knowledge of knowing, wait, there's something other than being good. And it's just that more leaving of what we knew to go after something different.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get I've got a lot of notes on that at the end of the podcast, but I'm glad you touched on it because the whole concept of good and evil was right there in the beginning. And whenever Eve saw that the tree was good. So she saw that it was good. God saw his creation and said it was good. So with her seeing that whole phrase, it goes into the knowledge of good and evil. So he wanted to define it and teach Adam and Eve, but we want to define good and evil because it's easy for us. And it's what we want, that sort of thing.
Because it gives us control.
Yeah, it's always about control. And thinking of hold on, gotta catch this train of thought. Okay. So the quote in Lord of the Rings, the whole like you see good or bad or evil and good, that sort of thing. So in the Lord of the Rings, talking about Strider, Frodo says something really cool about Strider. He says, I think one of his spies, think he's talking about the enemy, would seem fairer and feel fouler, if you understand me. So he sees Strider and he looks, disheveled. He's a ranger. He's been out in the woods all his life. And you would think that an enemy would feel fair, right? You would feel, you're beautiful. You look good, but you feel fair or you feel foul, that sort of thing. So how the enemy in our life, the devil comes a lot of times, he looks great. Eve in the tree, like you look good, but once you take a bite out of that, oh, it's gross, it's bad, that sort of thing. So when he sees Strider, he says, you look bad, but you feel good, that sort of thing.
And I look at it too, like in the Fallout sense, like how they were defining. So like if you look at the Fallout universe, especially like 3 really does it good when it was talking about like the beginning of it, and 4, 76, New Vegas, they all talk about like how, of course, it's a lot like a political satire.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, democracy, good, communism, bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it was. And you look at how they built that universe upon it. Like the bad guys and the good guys at the same time pressed the button. And what did it bring? The ultimate demise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we have to be, not all good intentions leads to good results.
Right.
And in a world we're living at now, just because we think we're doing good doesn't necessarily make it good. It goes back to that Thanos character that we're going to talk about later, but there is a clear-cut definition. It comes from the inherent law that's wrote in our heart. Not so much the law in Leviticus and the 10 Commandments, but it's the law that God inherently wrote in us when he formed our forefather, when he breathed life into him. Mm-hmm. So we always have that part, like, deep down, as a kid, you inherently know what's good and evil.
Yeah.
It's not until you're taught something different to skew that.
Yeah, that's your age of accountability, is when you are old enough to eat the fruit and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. And going back to Adam and Eve, and again, we'll touch on it more later, But yeah, God wanted to teach them right and wrong, good and evil. But we want to jump ahead of God and be like, "Whoa, I'll figure it out. I'll just eat the apple real quick or the fruit," because they were immature beings. I think I don't think they were like kids, but I think obviously they were immature because they were just created. So yeah, God is still wanting to teach us those same values of good and bad in His written word in Scripture. So,
And Jesus tells us ultimately, if you love me and keep my commands, you're doing good. And what's his top command? Love one another.
yeah,
So what's that mean? Not to cause strife, to go the extra mile for someone else. It's those cliches of, do you know what it's like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes?
yeah,
It's like, instead of, oh, this, that, and the other, walk with them. See how you can be a part of their lives in order to change it, to break the generational curses.
Yeah,
So be it.
Be the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think a lot of times we have all these abstract thoughts like the walking in someone else's shoes. But I think like getting back to basics of like actually walking with someone or actually just taking a minute and talking with them about like, hey, you're acting like a jerk. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay today? That sort of thing. Instead of just like, oh, you're a jerk. You're always going to be a jerk. But like stopping for a minute and be like, okay, like, especially maybe with a coworker, like I had to deal with, like I was talking to you about.
Or if, you hear a rumor about someone that they did something or said something about somebody, instead of just jumping on that train, why don't you try talking to them and be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
rumors are those things that have destroyed kingdoms and empires for millennia.
Yeah. Side quest.
It really is, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at it throughout the Bible.
Yeah.
Granted, there's truth behind some of the rumors, but at the same time, it's, if you look at how Jesus describes the end, you'll hear rumors of war. Not necessarily that there is one, but there's rumors. And that's one of those things we're always striving to cut each other down, because that's inherent in our nature now. Because when the sin entered the world, our inner flesh became the enemy. Yes, we have a true and present enemy, but the second enemy that's talked about as much, if not more, is our flesh. And it wars against us. It wants us to do what's not right. And it comes to, when we sin, we can feel that. I mean, if you struggle with lust, you feel at the end that holy conviction that comes down, and it's like, hey, you screwed up. This is not good.
Yeah.
Let's fix this.
Yeah. When it's like you're saying, when even as a kid, you have that ingrained in you of like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing, even as simple as, lust or whatever, but as simple as like, you just really pig out on like a tub of ice cream or something.
Oh, stop. I really
And
want
like,
ice cream.
and like, you really wanted it and you love eating it and you're just going to town on this ice cream. Then when you're done, you're like, oh, why did I do this?
This was a bad
This was
idea.
a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
All
that's
right.
like the idea of buffets.
yeah.
They're
Same,
inherently
yeah, they really are.
Yeah. It's like great idea. And then you're like 1-2 plates in and you're like, this was a bad idea.
And then sometimes you just can't stop, and it's like 3,
Yeah.
4, 5 plates in.
Well, I paid for this buffet. I got to
Yeah.
eat at least 3 plates.
You try to justify it.
Whoa.
And that's where like the clear-cut definition of good and evil needs to be, because we can't justify, well, like you said, I paid for this buffet, I'm going to get the money out of it.
Yeah, it's in there's a proverb too, that there's 3 things that's never satisfied.
Yeah.
And it was
I think fire's one.
fire, the grave,
Yeah.
and dry ground.
Yeah.
No matter how much you give it, it always wants more.
Yeah. Wow.
And it never stops unless it's stopped. It'll never stop on its own.
Yeah. All right. Good and evil, level 2, blurred lines. So, yeah, our heroes are often flawed, and this is just human nature. And I think in our I guess culture, our pop culture right now is really leaning in towards that. And a couple I wrote down were Wolverine. He's kind of a very flawed, blurred line hero. We'll get into anti-heroes later, but Gimli too. Gimli started as just being very prideful and arrogant and just kind of a jerk, especially to Legolas. And that's just, we're all flawed, but he grew, and so did Wolverine. Wolverine was, a drunk, came to this school and he's like, whoa, man, you got to follow some rules here. But, obviously his backstory, he had a lot of reason why he was kind of messed up,
And I really like how you put Samson, Saul, and David in there.
Yeah.
See, the latter two I know more of. Samson, he's one I've studied quite a bit, but I know you know a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's like you look at Saul. Saul's, a.k.a. Paul, he started out as...
No, that's King Saul.
Oh, King Saul.
But yeah,
King
same,
Saul.
same with Saul, Paul, yeah.
And then David, he is coined as a man after God's own heart.
Yeah.
He was the anointed one after Saul. He was humble, but at the
he
end...
struggled with lust really bad.
And it says in the time of the season when the kings went out to war, Saul stayed home.
David.
And that's when David stayed home.
Yeah.
And that's when he fell. He fell to the point where he put the husband of the lady he had just slept with on the front lines, and he told his generals, like, hey, when you get out there, you won't pull back and you kind of push him into the fight.
But that's because Uriah was a faithful servant, and when he brought Uriah home, Uriah refused to lay with his wife because he said, all my people are out there dying, and I'm not gonna do this and lay with my wife when they can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
then Saul-
he was a faithful servant.
And he was a faithful servant, and then David was like, well, crap. All right,
Yeah.
plan B.
Yeah.
Plan B. And so, Samson too was a very flawed hero.
He broke every
Very
Nazarite vow.
very much good and evil. Like, he was dabbling in both. And, but yeah, his whole story is amazing how, like Steven said, he broke pretty much every Nazarite vow. And then finally, when he got his hair cut off, that's when the power left him and he was truly weak. But even at the end, when he was about to die, he was hung up between some pillars in the Temple of Baal, or Temple of Dagon, sorry. And, right? It was one of the two, maybe Dagon, because it was Philistines. But anyway, he was in this temple of the Philistines and he said, God, grant me one last request. And he shoved the pillars down, and there's a couple images out there of like what that actually could look like, like the whole temple. Really, really cool. And I think he killed 2,000 to 5,000. I can't remember exactly,
Everyone in there, including himself.
More, including himself, but more than he'd ever killed in his life. But so in that, like, we're all flawed, we're all fallen in need of grace, right? In that there's no one perfect except one. Jesus, and Jesus was perfect, and he came to live a perfect life so that we could end up in it with eternity.
And if you look at who Jesus sought after, he sought the flawed, not the ones that thought they were doing right.
Yes, exactly.
Because you look at Peter was a fisherman. I love how The Chosen illustrates him because he's working on the Sabbath to try paying off a debt and all this stuff. But he's coined as Jesus told him, this is the rock on which I'll build my church. And all this stuff, which can be very theological and debated. But anyway, you look, he's one of the great fathers of our religion and our truth. But even then, he's so close to Jesus, he draws the sword.
Yeah.
Jesus would have never told him to draw the sword. He cut off a guy's ear.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I'll never forsake you. And Jesus is like, no, you're going to deny me 3 times. He denies him 3 times. And it continues where he wasn't a super Jewish person, but after the Holy Spirit came down, he started to lecture people like he would act one way when he ate with Jews and one way when he ate with Greeks. And then Paul had to sort him out. And Paul's the guy who was the head of the Jews. He was the Jew of Jews. I mean, he had the letter of the law to go and persecute Christians. And Paul had to set him down, and he's like, hey, you're being a hypocrite. And I think that's one of the biggest things is when we blur those lines, we become a hypocrite and we ruin our witness.
Yeah. That's so true. That is so true.
Ananias.
Yeah.
Not the Ananias that went and relieved the scales off of Paul's eyes, but the Ananias who died because, he sold his house and he was giving money to
him and his wife.
Yeah.
If he would have straight out went, hey, this isn't everything, but this is money I want to give to the poor.
Yeah, it was in Acts 2.
He probably would have still been alive, but it was like, no, this is all the money I made from the house. He was a hypocrite.
Yeah, and he got unalived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then they brought his wife in, like,
It's-
so was this all the money you got? Yeah.
And I love it. They hadn't even finished burying your husband.
And
I
then she
imagine
was-
they just threw her in there with him.
And then she was struck dead.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't even dug his grave yet,
Yeah. So in our world today, the lines are very fuzzy of good and evil. And when those lines are fuzzy, like you're saying, we can become an accidental Pharisee, a hypocrite. We can, when we say one thing but do another, or, you know, we read scripture and it says one thing and we do the other thing. And it's like, well, you know what's good, so do what's good.
Hey, you become what James, in the book of James, it says you become the man in the mirror. You're unrecognizable to yourself.
You're double-minded. You're like a sea being tossed and turned by the wind.
Yeah, and so much so in our world today is what I'm talking about, but like it's not even good and evil, it's just dark and darker.
Yeah.
You know, it's like bad and worse. There's no good.
Like you turn on the news,
You
it's
know?
like, okay, is it going to be bad or is it going to be better?
Exactly.
Yeah, you
It's
just
like,
turn it on, you're like, oh.
yeah. Yo, so I think that's the enemy's plan. I mean, obviously it was from the beginning of blurring the lines of good and evil, and they are still today. Like, he's asking us, well, did God really say? Like asking us, you know, what is God saying is good? That sort of thing.
Well, that's like when he tempted Jesus he quoted
Yeah.
scripture. He quoted scripture. He's like, well, didn't scripture say? But he blurred the lines of what the scripture actually meant.
Yeah. Yeah.
He took it out of context. And he's like, well, bow down to me and I'll give you this, or make this rock into bread. And he just keeps twisting scripture and blurring those lines.
Yeah.
And he does it in the garden. Did God really say? Oh, he knows it'll be like you. He put in that question in our mind, like, wait, did he really say that? Or am I just imagining that? Or something along those lines. But when we become hypocrites, we ruin our witness. And that's the enemy's greatest feat. I mean, when we ruin our witness, we can ruin it for it's not for us, it's for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we should be living anyway, is so many times focusing on someone else rather than ourselves. Mainly, like you're saying, your witness. And that's a very, very churchy word, but broken down, it's just like what you say and what you do, those need to be lined up, and hopefully they line up with scriptures. What you think and what you say and what you do, they all kind of line up with God's word.
That old saying of do what I say and not what I do, it shouldn't be a thing. It should be, you do what I say because I do what I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I walk it out.
Yeah. And it not as a, you know, you read these words in the Bible and, you know, there's lots of good and evil in there, especially in Proverbs. And I've talked about on here Proverbs, how much I love that book, but it always talks about good and evil and how it's not like a abstract thought, but like foundationally, like God created the world. He made order out of chaos, good, what was not good, basically. So before in Genesis, you know, there was nothing, there was void, there was, you know, watery darkness. And then out of that, he made something good. I wrote down man, my brain is already shutting down. Isaiah 5:20. Let's see who can get there first.
It's going to be you because I didn't have that in my notes.
Well, not if I can't find Isaiah. Wait a minute. Where am I going? Golly. I thought of a fun game as a dad. Whoever can get 2 verses first, like, wins the prize.
You say Isaiah 5:20?
No, because I want to get there first.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not there yet. Then I'm not there.
Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So woe to those. So that's kind of an old timey word to say sucks to suck. So you're about to get hurt if you'd say, you know, evil for good and good for evil. So like what we're talking about in our world and culture today, there is, I mean, literally anywhere you look, social media or any type of media out there, they are calling good evil and evil good. I mean, literally everywhere. So, I mean, there's hope in the Word of God and in our future inheritance, people, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So yeah, more on the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So God wanted us to sit beneath the shade of that tree so that He could teach us the difference between good and evil. And I look at that as an abstract thought, sure, but like as a literal thought of God wanted to sit us down and teach us. And that's obviously what He did with the Word, with the Bible. But I think it's really cool that it was a tree and it was a fruit. So think about and I love the thought of trees and fruit and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully one day I'll write this book that I have about trees and that sort of thing and growing. But like, imagine God himself and his kids, Adam and Eve, planting a seed, and him teaching them the importance of the seed and it growing and teaching them good and evil as this tree grows and as the years go on, and how first they see this fruit or this flower begins to bloom, and God's teaching them still about flowers and growing and good and bad and what's right and wrong, and then this fruit slowly starts to grow, and as the days and weeks go on, this fruit is growing into ripen, all that kind of stuff. And it's like a slow process of him teaching them. And then, God's away for a little time doing something else. And then, so they're still just kind of hanging out around that tree like, man, this is thinking about what God's telling them. And then up comes this dumb serpent. Hey guys, did God really say? And so that's the test that we all go through is God wanting to slowly teach us. And then this serpent comes up. Did God really say that you're called? Did God really say that you're going to become a pastor? Did God really say that your wife loves you?
It makes you question everything.
Yes. And then and even though they're like dumb thoughts, we all have dumb thoughts of this temptation and sin. But like so many times it's like, you're right. I am a pretty crappy writer. No one's like that. I think those all the time. Like, no one's going to read my stuff. Like, I should just quit. Like, there's no point in doing this nerdy ministry. Like, no one's going to watch it. I think that all the time, but I'm like, nope. I know that's a thought from the enemy, and I'm going to keep moving.
That's why we're in it for all 10 of our subscribers.
Yes. Now there's almost 400 now. Whoa. Thank you so much for subscribing, whoever's watching this.
Yeah.
It means so much. But to continue to finish off that thought, I'm going to finish off that thought. So we take the shortcut. We want the fruit. We don't want the journey. We don't want the teaching, the growing. We just want what's fast. We're a microwave culture. We talk about that. We just want the easy route. And whenever I think of a shortcut or an easy route, I always think of Lord of the Rings when they take the shortcut to mushrooms and they break a carrot. I don't know why, but that image always pops in my head of like, when you take a shortcut, something usually gets broke. And sometimes it's not just your carrot.
Well, I think of it too, like the poem, The Road Less Traveled. I think.
Oh, so good.
I think it's one of those things, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Sorry, pride. Anyway, but like, I think the road less traveled is the hard road anymore. We want to all take the easy road, the straight and narrow, or not the straight and narrow, but the quickest way there, where sometimes you want to take the scenic route. Sometimes you want to take the little bit longer route because it's going to get you there. Yeah, it's going to be a little slower, but you're going to learn more. You're going to have seen more. You're going to have conquered more versus having to go through an easy trial. Trials in themselves aren't a bad thing. It teaches us maturity. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we just don't want to mature. And it's a sad thing to see, because to realize good and evil, you have to mature. Mm-hmm. And we miss that step. We just want to know what good is without maturing to know what bad is. Yeah.
And like you're saying, so many times you learn what good is when you figure out what evil is. You learn the opposite. And always bring it back to games, because I grew up playing a lot of video games, but like the scenic route, like all the side quests you go through. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it before. Like, you get all the best gear, or you level up more. You could just go straight to your destination on your little map checkpoint thing. But like, if you I think of Skyrim, because that's a lot of what I played. Like, there's a cave here, I'm going to go in here. And there's a village here, I'm going to go in here. Well, there's someone who needs help, I'm going to do that while I'm kind of going on the main quest.
Well, that's like, if you do the main quest in Skyrim, it's very short altogether.
Yeah, it's only a couple hours.
But it took me, my first playthrough, like 22 hours of actual gameplay before I completed it, if not more.
100%?
Yeah, no, just to complete the main quest.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do everything else.
I had hundreds of hours.
And like I said, when I did another playthrough where I was like, well, I really want to know how long it's going to take just do the main quest. Yeah. It was only 2 or 3 hours. And I might be exaggerating there, but it was a lot less than. Yeah. Like, you're like, oh, this is going to take forever. And then you're like, wait a second, this is dumb. this game's kind of not as fun as it was when you were going through.
Well, side quests make the game. You know, we talk about those a lot. So when we deny, so I'm reading my notes here. When we deny that God is trying to do and take what is easy or what is faster, it's almost always the wrong idea. God wants us on the journey in the long road so we can build our character. So many times God's not worried about our destination. We're so fixated. Is that the right word?
Fixated?
Fixated on the destination, the where am I going on my GPS? What is the address? God's more worried about our character, and so how we build that character is the journey. How we level up in our faith is from trial to tribulation to whatever, as we grow.
Yeah, that's why we're like trying.
We grow as we go.
That's right.
Put that on a bumper sticker.
Grow as we go. And then we invented airplanes so we can get somewhere quick. And what do you see? Just a bunch of crap and babies crying and watching a stupid movie that's 10 years old that nobody wanted to see in the first place.
Yeah, faster.
But God's all like, hey, road trip.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. Grow as you go. Yeah, God's all about the road trip, And as a kid, I remember
he wants you to stop off and
so many times. I love
check egg.
I love road trips. I only like road trips though if you don't say we're gonna get there in a certain amount of hours. You just we're gonna get there when we get there.
Yeah, and make your little pit
and especially
stops.
as little kids, man, road trips are just
well. That's like if you look at
holy smokes
from the Old Testament to New Testament. Road trips are what caused people to grow. Like the Israelites lied.
Yeah, they took a 40-year road trip.
Yeah, because they were dumb. And they're like, oh, no, we can't conquer it. And two people was like, yes, we can. We got God on our side.
How many years was Paul on a constant road trip?
Exactly. I mean, Jesus, he walked for 3 years straight.
Yeah, he was on a 3-year road trip.
Yeah, man, road trip.
And
go on a road trip, people.
And he knew where the end was going to be. It wasn't going to be the Ritz-Carlton. It was going to be the cross.
I have my head cut off. So this is another one talking about the tree, right? Before the tree, they didn't know good and evil. They only knew God, who is the source of all good.
And he'd walk with them in the cool of the day.
Yeah, so anything that is not God
is not good.
Is not good. That's kind of just a rule of life. Is if it's not God, it's not good. So talking about something I've talked about and thought about a ton and prayed about is God, if you're not in it, I don't want it. And obviously that's a very bold prayer, and I promise I don't live up to that as often as I'd like. But it's something to think about. Like, sure, there's a lot of not great things you can watch. We were talking about Fallout. It's not the greatest show. Still try to find God in it. That's kind of what we all do here at Nerds in Christ. But So if it's not God, it's not good. And so if there's something in your life, maybe it's stirring, you're thinking about kind of a conviction in your life, like if God's not in it, maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Right. And it lays it out pretty black and white in Ephesians 5.
Yeah.
Ephesians 5, starting at verse 3. Let there be no sexual immorality, impurity, or greed among you. Such sins have no place among God's people. Obscene stories, foolish talk, and coarse jokes are not what is for you. Instead, let there be thankfulness for God.
Yeah. Man, that's good. So talking a little bit more about, last little bit on the tree of no knowledge of good and evil in Genesis 3, I believe. So in that whole story, right, it was saying that God created this and that it was good. And you talked about earlier, like when he created Adam and Eve, it says he was very good. And then later it was saying, and the phrase that they kept using, like God saw that it was good. Mm-hmm. Later, Eve saw that the tree was good for food and beautiful to the eye. Like that's the phrase that's used. So that kind of makes you think, okay, God is seeing what it is good because it is good because he's God. We often see stuff and we think it's good, but we don't see it through the lens of God, that sort of thing. So we have to get that in our minds of, okay, I see this as good. How does God see it? Like, did God see it as good or does God see it as bad? I think that's, you got to get that, figure out how to get that lens in your mind, that spiritual lens of, I see it as good. I see this opportunity or this show or this game or this relationship. I see it as good, but how does God see that relationship?
100%. I think that grows with maturity. I mean,
Absolutely.
We go through times where there's some things I can't watch because I know it's not good.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is going to hurt me. Like, I went a couple years without watching John Wick for a while. Granted, it's still not the greatest thing to watch.
Yeah.
But it's like I can look at it through a spiritual aspect of like, what can I learn from this movie to point people to Christ?
Yeah.
Because that's like the ultimate goal of this podcast, this ministry is we take nerd culture, nerd ideologies, and we have to dissect them to be like, okay, so this points to Christ this way.
Yeah.
This points to the world this way.
Yeah.
And it's something we've had to spiritually go through. It reminds me of, I forget, I think it was Pastor Kyle Idleman. He wrote The End of Me. But I think...
I like that guy.
No, maybe it wasn't him. It goes in that context, but there's this group, and they go in and they go into the strip clubs to try witnessing to people to get their lives back to Christ. And before they go, they get in a prayer circle, and they're like, okay, who can't go tonight? We're not gonna judge you. We're not gonna do anything. Like, who is not equipped to go in tonight? Because we don't want you to fall.
Mm-hmm.
And if you weren't, you just went away. But the next time you went, maybe you were strong enough to go in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something we'll go through series where we're not strong enough to go through it. We need to step back. But then through seeking Christ, through reading scripture, we can become strong enough to overcome it to point people to Christ.
Yeah. 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 And I know this ministry is not everyone's cup of tea, and, we all have our personal convictions and that sort of thing. So, take that as a caveat kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. But the next thing I want to talking about the tree, knowledge of good and evil. So she saw that it was good for food. And, after they took a bite, after that, initial seeing and taking, and that phrase in scripture is super heavy. And it's really cool to do a deep dive on just that phrase of seeing and taking. There's always sin involved in that. When we see something but don't see it through the lens of God, and if it's good, there's always sin involved. And after they took a bite, it says that they knew that they were naked.
They were naked.
But that phrase knowing, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, like that whole idea of like, oh Lord, help me with my thought to get this, man.
Well, I mean, just think about it's the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge of, I mean, I might be a little crass here, but let's just say the knowledge of sex, right?
Okay.
So you think of like little kids running around naked. They don't think of sex. They're not thinking about it. They don't care.
Yeah.
Little kids run around naked all the time.
Yeah.
But as you grow,
you get shame.
You get shame from it, and that's what you think about the first time. Little kids, see somebody naked, it's just, oh, whatever. A little kid sees another little kid naked, they're just whatever. But when you get older, you know what comes along with it. It's the knowledge of the good and evil, the knowledge of that.
The knowledge of shame, really.
The knowledge of shame, yeah.
I never thought about it that way. That's not where I was going with it, but that's a cool thought. Of as you grow, yeah. So what I was trying to say was like, knowing they knew that they were naked, so there was a negative knowledge that they learned. It wasn't so much that they were naked and ashamed, but I mean like, when you see something and take it, after you take it, that it was a bad decision.
Yeah, and they knew, as far as the God is concerned, sex is beautiful between husband and wife.
Yeah.
But they thought of it then also as like the dirty sense,
that too. Yeah.
That it was more than just being with your wife, being with and procreate. Mm-hmm. They took it, just like an animal. An animal doesn't know it's naked.
Yeah.
They don't have the knowledge of that. But of course, animals don't have souls either. We do. But they don't have the knowledge of that, where human beings and adults do, as opposed to an animal or a child. So they have that shame. They have the knowledge of sin, and they have the knowledge of the consequences of what sex brings.
That's good.
So on that light topic, we're going to take a break.
We'll be right back.
See y'all.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you're listening to, please like and share this podcast with your friends and family. Check out our merch where we have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Continue this topic on our Facebook page with other kingdom-minded nerds. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Nerds and welcome back from the break, guys. We're on to level 3 anti-heroes. So, Deadpool, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Spawn,
Deadpool, Venom, Spawn.
Oh, Spawn. I didn't write Spawn down. Yeah.
Carnage,
Punisher,
Punisher.
Carnage is just inherently evil.
Captain Jack Sparrow,
I didn't think of him, but that's a good one.
Geralt of Rivia, The
Yes.
Witcher. That's another one.
Who else? I mean, well, if you play any game, you can be the anti-hero.
Clerk,
Yeah.
Clerk, the Super Scroll.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one, but I'm going to agree with you because I trust you.
Thanos.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, he's not an anti-hero.
he thinks
to
he is.
himself.
Yeah.
To himself,
Maybe.
he thinks he's good.
Yeah, but like, okay, why are they so popular? I'll
Hellboy.
just ask Hellboy. He's another one, yeah. Why do you think they're so popular?
I think it's because they can do whatever they want and get away with it and still get the girl in the end.
okay.
Everything
Yeah.
still works out for them.
Yeah.
And they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They can justify doing what's bad for the greater good.
Yeah.
Because I think deep
That
down-
phrase is so the greater good. Well, why not just do the good?
I
Right?
think of like the Boondock Saints. There's a saying
Yeah.
where it talks about some must suffer for the greater good or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's just like that's
Well,
kind
that's
of askew.
true. I mean, when you have, I think of the Batman movie when there's those two boats, and he can either save one,
Where is she? Yeah,
like,
Harvey
isn't
Dent?
that right?
Yeah, Harvey Dent or
No, yeah. Well, no, I was thinking I thought there was boats where he could either save the people on the boat or his girl. And like he has to pick because there's bombs that are going to go off at one or the other, and he can't save them both. But basically, yeah, if like you were on a train track or 2 train tracks and there was one person you could save or 100 people you could save, obviously you're going to pick the 100.
What? The movie Superman. was-
Okay.
All right. The original Superman, 1978. Okay. Superman, he got a necklace of kryptonite put around him and thrown into a pool so he'd drown because he couldn't take the necklace off.
Okay.
Miss Chessmacher, Lex Luthor's assistant, jumped in and saved him.
Oh.
And she said, "You're a man of your word, right? You can never lie." And he said, "That's true. I'm a man of my word." And Lex Luthor sent 2 missiles, one to Los Angeles and one to Hackensack, New Jersey.
Oh.
And the reason why I said Hackensack, New Jersey is because Miss Chessmacher's mother lives in Hackensack.
Okay.
And she said, "Make me a promise that Superman couldn't save them both.
Right.
She said, "Make me a promise that if you can stop one of these missiles, you'll stop the one going to New Jersey because my mother lives in Hackensack." And
Okay.
even though Lois Lane was in Los Angeles and Los Angeles would kill more people, he was just a man of his word.
Wow.
And he went to New Jersey and stopped it.
But he technically saved both, right?
Well, what happened was,
He spun the world backwards.
yes, because
Right.
he arrived in Los Angeles in the aftermath after the nuclear warhead hit, and he found Lois's dead body and,
Ooh.
and grieved over it
Yeah.
and was in such torment
Yeah.
that he remembered the words of his father, Jor-El, when Jor-El said, "It is forbidden for you to interfere with human history."
Oh.
But he was so enraged and so full of grief,
Yeah.
he flew faster than he ever flew before, and he flew around the world backwards to pull it backwards to reverse time.
Comics are so awesome.
It was like really weird, but it's like, the point I was trying
But
to
the
make
point of it,
is
yeah.
that he was a man of his word, even though he knew
Yeah.
that whatever, but he
Yeah. Wow.
that he upheld his promise to go to the.
So he is a real hero, not like these fool anti-heroes. But it is interesting that the anti-hero is so popular. To me, it's because we all want to do our own thing and we see it as good. Quote, I'm doing quotes for the listeners
Yeah.
of the podcast. It's like
Yeah, air quotes.
air quotes. So like we all want to do our own thing, live our own life, follow our heart, all that crap that I do not agree with at all. Don't follow your heart, kids.
Yeah,
but like
the heart is deceitful.
right, we all want to do our own thing. Technically, not totally evil, but it's not good. The whole anti-hero idea.
The whole just that you can just do what you want.
Well, that's like you look at John Wick. He's an anti-hero in a sense where he's getting rid of more bad guys.
Yeah.
You have the Boondock Saints where they were just...
That's similar, right?
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with them.
So they're twins that got caught up in some bad situations and they go to jail because...
Irish dudes,
Yeah.
Catholic rosaries, right?
But they go in there and they kind of have an epiphany that they must take out the bad guys so that the good may flourish. So they go through and they kill all the mafia people they can get their hands on. Literally.
Gotcha.
And it's like... And people ask them, they're like, is it a good thing they're doing? That's why I really like the end of that movie. And some are like, yeah, they're getting rid of the evil in this world. And then others are like, no, they're being judge, jury, and executioner. And it's one of those things. That's what we become when we become our own anti-heroes.
Yeah.
Deadpool, yeah, he's doing good things. But he's doing it out of selfish ambitions. Jack Sparrow, same way. He wants Punisher. He's trying to rid the world of the evil because they took his family. Where you look at like, say Daredevil, he's kind of the opposite. He's just trying to save New Jersey because that's where he's from, right?
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen, New
Yeah.
Jersey. Yeah. Yeah, he had his eyes taken, but he was a lawyer trying to do right in the day, and then at night trying to stop the evil that was going on that he couldn't fix being a lawyer.
Yeah, they're usually getting the job done, but the easiest way possible.
Guns
much.
and glory.
Yeah, and it's easy to be an anti-hero, and like we're all anti-heroes of our own story, and we need Jesus to be the true hero of our story. And I was thinking more about this. We brought it up a little bit, but Jonah, he was kind of an anti-hero. He kind of, God gave him this mission, and he kind of really failed the mission left and right.
So the big fish had to come out.
Yeah, the big fish had to come out and eat him up. And I was like in the movies, like the VeggieTales one and all that, you see, him eating Jonah, and Jonah's like sitting all nice and proper. I imagine it being a not giant fish, but a fish big enough to swallow him, and he's all like cramped up in the fish, like,
Yeah, like can't move.
and there's stuff floating around and hitting him in the face and stuff, and just being a nasty situation, and then it spitting him out. And
And you look at the anti-hero movies and comics, that's how their lives are.
yeah,
Like the Punisher, Castle, he was a Marine, special forces type dude.
Then become a cop after that.
And then something bad happened to his family. And then you look at Deadpool, he was originally a soldier. He got dishonorably discharged. Then he started doing other stuff. And then they go from being good to not necessarily bad, but something bad happening to them and skewing their lines. And I think that's what happens with us because we go through a kind of a cleansing in a sense of that, where we try to walk out our faith as young people in knowing what good is, and then something in the world kind of challenges us and it blurs our lines.
did God really say?
Yeah, 100%. That's what it is. I mean, did God really say that? When we have to look at it and said, well, in this book, God said this, we got to follow that.
Yeah, that's our compass, right? That's our true north. That we gotta, our measurement stick or our ruler or whatever you want to call it. Like that is key to this walk, right? Another anti-hero is Jacob, to Israel. That whole, like you brought up, I think at the beginning of the podcast, his whole story is anti-hero. So the beginning of the story, he is named Jacob because he's a heel grabber. When they're born, his brother was born first, and he was grabbing on his heel as they're coming out of his mother's womb.
He
Right?
tricks his dad into get his...
Hey, where's a goat skin?
Well, before that, he tricks his brother, and his brother goes out hunting. And actually, this is funny because this is what Harley learned in kids' church this morning. Like we asked her, she told this whole story, and I was like, "Dang, girl, like you go, girl." She's 6, but she was saying like. The Jacob and Esau story of being patient, and Esau was not patient. He went out to the field and was a hunter, and he hunted all day long, and he wasn't like Cameron. He didn't bring anything back. He just came back hungry, and his brother made a soup, a lentil stew. So you got to imagine this is probably just just a
Awful.
nasty broth. It's
Awful.
probably not very good.
It was water and lentils.
Yeah,
Like
and Esau
bone
was
marrow
like,
or
"Give me some of your stew, Jacob, or I'm gonna die. Like I'm so hungry." And his brother, and I just see brothers because
will
it's
you
just,
trade me your inheritance?
yeah. Will you give me your inheritance for the stew? And his brother Esau's like, "What is my inheritance to me? I'm about to die. I'm so hungry."
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
I see that as brothers. It's like I don't care. Sure, yeah, whatever. Because
No takebacks.
Yeah, and Jacob, no takebacks. So he gives him his birthright, which as a firstborn is a double portion of the inheritance. So like the way that it broke down in those days, it wasn't like each brother got 50-50. Like Esau would have gotten 100%, or how would 75%, and Jacob would have got 25%. And there's reasons why. You can study that if you want to. But so Jacob literally, did his Jacob ways to him and got that. And then like you guys were saying later, Jacob lied to his father and got the birthright. So that's even more stuff he's stealing from underneath his brother.
And after all of that, after they separated, Jacob was fearful of Esau. But Esau said, "Brother, I just want to embrace you."
Well, before that happens, he goes to someone else and he works for him as a shepherd with goats and sheep and stuff. And he swindles that guy from a bunch of goats. And basically like he kind of did some shady stuff and stole a bunch of goats and sheep and herd and stuff. And so in that same time, I think it was before the goat thing, he got married and he said, "Let me marry your daughter." And he said, "Oh, sure. Work for me 7 years." And he's like, "All right, cool. I'll do that." And so he worked 7 years. And then after the 7 years, the guy, I think he was actually an uncle, which
yeah,
great uncle or something.
Great uncle.
We're
going to say great uncles just so we span that gap so it's not as gross. But
see, back then in the Old Testament, they were very closely related.
Yeah, and it is what it is.
People didn't really venture too far from the tent they were born.
Yeah, it is what it is what it is. So he marries actually the older sister who's I think it was how did they phrase it? Like
she was the ugly one?
Yeah, but they phrased it as like her eyes were lowered basically. You could take that I don't know. Take it as you will, but I think that's how it's phrased.
Use your imagination.
She either was unpretty or slow. I'll just say that.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah. So then another 7 years he had to work, and then he got to marry Rachel, and then the whole goat thing. Then he went back to his brother, and his brother's my brother's gonna kill me. Basically, is what he's thinking, and then the brother they come together.
I just want to embrace you, brother.
Yeah. I just want to embrace you. I love you, brother. That sort of thing, and so all that being said, like there are anti-heroes in the Bible. Like no one's perfect.
Samson
is kind of another like we talked about him earlier, but yeah, he's definitely an anti-hero. And I just want to hit the point of stop being the anti-hero of your story. Stop trying to run things your own way or do things your own way, but like do things by the book, literally by the book, and do things God's way, because he is Yahweh.
Yeah, not your way, but Yahweh.
Yeah. Technical question. Do we need to pause it to fix the lights? Is this too bright?
There's no way I can fix it. It's coming out that way.
We could put the tarps up.
Nah, we'll just run it.
Okay. Well, for the listener, you don't mind at all, but for the viewer, the sun's moving, so it might get a little...
Mike's gonna
look I look super holy right now. But
you look like you're literally moments away from ascension.
Well, we'll see what happens. So anyway, dear listener or viewer of the podcast, we love you. Just thank you for
just scoot my way.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
Okay.
Because I don't it won't matter too much.
No. Oh well.
All right. So
side quest.
Well, the Lord said, "Let there be light."
Let there be light, and in Kentucky right now. It's like 80 degrees and just beautiful outside. So
and it wasn't 2 days ago.
It wasn't.
Well, yesterday morning when
Kentucky's
I went hunting,
wild.
It was like 49 degrees when I got in the truck, and it's like
Kentucky's wild. So
you brought up Yahweh, right?
Yahweh.
So when we look at the original when it was written, YHWH. It didn't have the rest of the stuff in it. It was just YHWH. And it represented breath. The same breath that God breathed in Adam, our forefather, to inherently give him the truth. That's why when he would walk with him in the cool breeze of the day, he was teaching them. Yeah. And the anti-heroes, they went through a thing where they were being taught in some form or fashion, right? Yeah. Like I said, Castle, he was a cop, he knew good. He was a Marine, he knew good. Deadpool, he was in the Special Forces, he knew good until he didn't, and so on and so forth. But then they got to teaching themselves. Goes back to when Eve ate the Adam, or ate the fruit. And it's something we can fall into, where when we get away from reading this and seeking more of this, like, hey, what does the world say about this issue?
Trade the rectangle.
And it is. This is good and evil at the same time.
Put that on a bumper sticker.
Swap rectangles.
Because this is inherently good.
Can be. It has the potential of both. Yeah. Same with us.
It is used for inherent evil.
A lot of times.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah.
And for the listener, I was holding up a phone.
Sorry.
and it can be said for this. Many people have used the Bible for inherent evil. And it's a blasphemy. I mean, it's terrible. This tells us what's good. The Old Testament is there to set the foundation of Jesus Christ coming. It has a whole bunch of laws that we cannot fulfill today, but Christ fulfilled them. Mm-hmm. The letters to the churches that Paul, Peter, all the apostles wrote, the revelation that John had, these are aspects for us today to know, like, hey, we're telling you, you can't live up to the law, live to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And that's something we have to do. We can't be the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Because that makes us anti-God.
Yeah.
We have to be the sidekick to Jesus.
Yeah, we're not even the hero. We're the sidekick.
Yeah.
And the damsel in distress a lot of times.
More times than not.
Yeah. Yeah, but going off that, the sidekick, like how many times does the hero have to rescue the sidekick? Because the villain grabs him.
Because the sidekick does something just totally dumb.
Well, you look at Batman. I love Batman. And in the comics.
I am Batman.
I have a tattoo. I mean, I'm legit. Anyway. But you look at the comic, Jason Todd, he becomes the Red Hood because the Joker takes him, beats him to a pulp. And Batman and his knowledge is like, oh, let's put him in the Lazarus pit. Well, he didn't think it works. And then he ends up going back into the Lazarus pit somehow. And it skews his mind. So he becomes the Red Hood, which is another anti-hero. He's like, I must complete what Batman can't because he's not going to do he wants to put a bullet in Joker's head. Because he knows that's the only way to stop him, and Batman won't do that. And that's not, Jesus never teaches us that. Mm-hmm. He put the bullet in the gun when he went up on the cross. He completed the battle. Mm-hmm. He completed the war. We're here just to mitigate it and to bring others with us.
Mm-hmm. Good segue to level 4, I think. Bad guys are no longer bad. So go ahead.
My favorite, and it's not really nerdy, but it's a really good show. And spoilers alert, Jack Ryan season 1.
Okay.
The bad guy. I love his character.
Yeah.
And I hate myself for it. No, for real. He does so much bad, but it shows his backstory, and you're just like, man, I get it.
You understand, yeah.
But then I sit there and I'm like, what has skewed my mentality to think that's okay in any right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the key to bad guys nowadays. It's how...
Because they're making them so relatable.
Yes, because they're perpetuating it.
Which I'm just now...
Thanos is probably the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And that's how this guy is.
Yeah.
The bad guy from Jack Ryan. His story is... So he was this immigrant. He was trying to solve the world from this. He was trying to create a war. He did all these bad things, and he went under... I'm not getting into that because that'll cause a whole bunch of other stuff. But anyway, how it happened and what his ultimate plan was two different things. He was more like a Thanos character. He wanted to do this for the greater good of everyone. The greater good of everyone's Jesus. No matter what we can do, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
We need to step off our high horse and give it to them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm passionate about that.
It kind of gave me a new thought of the whole bad guys are no longer bad. Like back, 20, 30 years ago, like good guys and bad guys were easy, just black and white. Not, anyway, not that black. Anyway, we won't get into that. Clearly,
like the Jedi
and Sith, very easily. Like I know those are bad guys. They wear black, have red lightsabers. Jedi usually wear like tan or brown, have green or blue. Like easy. Now we're seeing that it's not always cut and dry like that. Like a lot of times, bad guys are bad for a reason, and then I think right now we're showing that. In pop culture, and people are relating to it like, oh man, yeah. But kind of where I was going with this originally was like, is it just a box office thing to make more money, or is this an actual thing that people love? Like,
I think it's both. They're making more money because they're experimenting with that, and they're seeing that is what people want to see. Sadly enough.
Well, you wouldn't know why that is. Because the bad guy used to be a bad guy just because he was bad, right?
You need someone to fight. The good guy needs someone to beat up.
Now the bad guy is the bad guy because he doesn't think the good guy did the right thing.
Yeah.
The Joker, the guy from Jack Ryan.
Yeah, Thanos. But he kind of has a point. Joker has crazy trauma issues. Suicide Squad is another one. Like
they are so evil, but they're being glorified.
Yeah, but they're being glorified, and it's like, well, the whole like story behind them, I don't really know exactly, but like, where were the good guys? Were they off? Were they busy? Like, or they send them in because they don't care if they die. Basically,
it was that.
Right?
That's why they're called the Suicide Squad, because if they went in and they got killed, no one cared.
Yeah,
but they would send them to do the things that the good guys wanted that weren't necessarily the goodest, and that the heroes wouldn't ever do. They were that gray area.
Like to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one I wrote down, but I was thinking about The Purge. Like that, I've never seen those movies, and they terrify me, but like, why do people watch that?
Awful.
Or why do people think that's a good idea? Because there are people out there that's like, man, that would solve the world's problems.
When I saw like some trailers to that, I was like, people are going to take this literally and like actually do some harm. And they may have. I never heard about it, but that just scares me because I feel like we're going to get there one day and it's going to be bad. So, so many different so many different forms of media like that, like video games and different things. GTA, I wrote down GTA as well. Like they want you to lean into the dark side and lean into the evil, so to speak. I'm thinking, I guess, to scratch that itch that, if you watch that stuff or play those games, like you maybe won't do the actual evil form. But what I've learned, and this could just be me, I don't know, but your spirit doesn't know the difference.
No, it doesn't. Just like, it's violence as opposed to watching pornography.
Yeah. Like,
the world thinks, well, I'm not sinning because I'm not cheating on my spouse or I'm not actually doing it.
But Jesus saw it differently.
But Jesus sees that differently.
Yeah. He said, if you look at her with lust in your heart, that's just as bad as committing adultery.
And then it goes to that point where it skews the line for our spirit. So it's hard for us to tell different.
It poisons your thinking.
It does. And it's something that we fall into all the time. And it's sad because GTA, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, all the games we love, we can be the inherent bad guy. I mean, if there's a pickpocket skill or an assassin skill, Hitman is another good game where you're just paid to go take someone out. It doesn't matter if they're good, bad, or indifferent. You're just there to complete a job. Assassin's Creed, it's one of those things where you kind of feel that way too. Like,
that's almost an anti-hero kind of game.
It is, because like you're not necessarily the bad guy, but you're no way the good guy either.
Well, God of War is the same way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. There's a ton of games that are
pretty
anti-hero.
evil dude.
Yeah, that's what
very selfish.
And it always follows him. Like I've never played the newest one
up until the last one.
Yeah. But even then,
I've seen some of that like with his son. That's really cool.
Up until the last one, he was a pretty evil dude, and then the last one, he realizes what all he's done wrong.
But the sins of his past catch up to him.
With the Norse.
But what we need to realize too is, being new creations under Christ, our sins don't catch up to us in a way that our old selves.
I mean, if forgiveness and stuff. Yeah,
but you can't pick up persona ever again.
Yeah, because you're
Right, yeah.
forgiven. You have
Yeah.
to repent, which means turn away from. You're forgiven.
Yeah, you got to get rid of it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
David's sin caught up to him with his firstborn son that died after 7 days.
Yeah. And not that that's God's plan. He doesn't want inherent evil to happen in this world.
Right. But when we don't do things God's way, that's what we
Inherent
allow.
evil happens, yeah.
Right. Right. So yeah, like through what we're talking about, like we battle this flesh inside of us for rule and reign of our life, this evil, this not good, basically, and wanting these desires and seeking out whatever the heck we want. Really, I mean, best way to put it is just doing whatever the heck you want, just because it feels good or looks good, or
Split with the consequences.
yeah. But the Bible is so clear on good and bad. God is good, everything else is bad, pretty much.
It's very clear, and there's a lot of pop culture things out there
Right.
that is mainstream media, pop culture is trying to push, and society right now that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, people. It's evil,
Well, that's like you look at Supernatural. That's a show I used to love.
right?
And it takes scripture and skews it.
Yeah.
Because it shows Sam and Dean working with demons because they're demons, but they want greater good. But it's like, no, they're bad, they're demons.
Right. Yeah, that's a little
And then it
goofy.
shows the angels acting like how Lucifer's described have acted in the Bible. Like, it's just like, really, what's going on? There's a clear cut good and evil. The end. Let's not try to mitigate that. Let's not try to create our own definition for the two, but let's follow what Abba, the Father, Yahweh, God, whatever you call him from this word says.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. The end in a story.
Yeah.
But we can't because we inherently want to be God. That's why we ate the fruit. Because we saw it was
Because
good.
we want to be God. We want to be in control.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way to
'Cause
do good is give up control.
Well, that's what society teaches us. You're in control of your own destiny. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
And you know what? Control of your own destiny gets you debt, hardship.
I mean, when you think about it, like if you want us, technically yes and no. We're a fish in the aquarium.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in charge of where we want to go, but we ain't getting out of that aquarium.
Yeah, we're in charge of our own choices. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
we can choose whether we swim left or right, up or down, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You give the fish has the free will to do that, but
Yeah.
it can't escape the realm.
That's good. Yeah. So speaking a little bit about that kind of topic, what we do here on Earth echoes in eternity. I don't remember. I think it's from a movie. I want to say it's the Last Samurai movie. I could be wrong. But
The one
I
with
was
Tom
thinking of
Cruise?
that. Yeah, I was thinking of that quote of like what we do here on Earth right now echoes in eternity. So if we live our life following Jesus, following his word, doing the best we can, doing good, that is what we're going to take into eternity of being with God and just worshiping for the rest of our life. But if we live a life right now of doing whatever the heck we want, wanting nothing to do with God, maybe not even that, maybe just you're doing the best you can, kind of like an anti-hero of like, you're not exactly doing evil, but you're just kind of doing whatever kind of floats your boat or whatever life gives you, that kind of thing. But if you don't, if you're living life away from God, you're going to spend eternity away from God. And I've heard it here recently of like, how can a good God send people to hell? And he's like, he's just giving them what they want.
He's not sending you to hell.
He's not.
Sending
You're
yourself.
sending yourself to hell. And if you're not living a life for God, he's all he's wanting is to be with his kids for eternity. And if you don't want to be with him right now in your life, what's not eternity, but morality, like what's that word? Anyway, sorry, my brain. If you're not trying to live that way right now, he's going to give you what you want. And if you don't want him, okay, you're not going to get him for eternity.
The wages of sin is death.
So
Yeah.
there's a famous theologian that I really like, and one of his quotes kind of goes with this.
Oh yeah.
It's Charles Spurgeon that says, "If sinners be damned, at least let them leap to hell over our dead bodies, and if they perish, let them perish with our arms wrapped around their legs. imploring them to stay. If hell must be filled, let it be filled in the teeth of our exertions, and let no one go unwarned and unprayed for.
Good stuff.
And I think it just goes along with that context. Inherently, God doesn't want people to. He wants his whole creation, because no matter who you are, you're part of his creation. You are a son or daughter. He knew you before he formed you in your mother's womb, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're made in his image.
But ultimately, it's up to us to choose him. And sadly, some people won't, because they'll choose this world.
Yeah.
The people who choose Christ realize that this world is perishing.
Because they see good and evil the way they see it, not the way God sees it.
Yes. And it's sad. I mean, you look at our culture today, it teaches us follow our own image, follow our own desires.
And it basically shoves evil down your kids'
Yes. And that's why
They call it good.
And they call it good.
Yeah.
And not to get on too much of a rant, because if we do,
Yeah, that's this episode is dangerous because I'm trying to stay.
I'm trying to stay kind of because
Yeah.
we could get the plug pulled, because somebody will complain.
But it's so true. Like, we're calling mental illness health now, like truth, when in fact it's inherently wrong.
Right.
For some choices to be made.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with those choices, we're wrong for not agreeing with them.
Yeah.
In all of history, that was never a choice for a reason, because it was wrong.
Yeah. Up
So if
up
you're-
is down. That's
So
the
if you're
way it
telling
is.
me, so we're rewriting history, and this all falls when we don't learn from history.
Yeah.
When we don't learn from
Yeah. What is
stories-
that? What is that quote? If you don't learn from history, you repeat it.
yeah,
You're doomed to repeat it.
and it's
Doomed
so
to
true.
repeat it.
So the Old Testament, a lot of it's people didn't learn from the first book, and then in the second book they go through the same thing, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's why we have the Bible. The Bible is 66 books, and
You look at the history of like our country and the wars we've been in. Four of the last major wars we've been in is because we didn't learn from the first one. World War I happened, or two happened because we didn't learn from World War I.
Yeah.
Vietnam happened because we didn't learn from Korea. Korea happened because we didn't learn from World War II. So on and so forth. Rome fell for the same reason. Because they didn't realize the other cultures that got to be not nearly as big as them, but pretty big, did the same things they were doing, and they fell. You look at the history of the Mongolians, any other major world power, they've all fell because they've doomed themselves by first writing out history and second writing out Christ. Actually, first writing out Christ and second writing out history. And we're perpetuating it. When history books today are saying one thing that's not true and teaching the kids something else, we're in a society that's about to go through the same thing. It happened years ago. And the key to fix all that is the Bible.
yep. All right.
That's the end of my rant.
End of the rant. Boss battle. The definitions of good and evil, like we're talking about. All of our favorite fandoms are full of good guys and bad guys, right? We have, we can and need to believe in the heroes. So Iron Man, Aragorn, Jesus, all of those are the heroes, right? Because you have to have someone to fight against. So you have Thanos, Sauron, and Satan. It is a great deception of the world. Battery's running low. I hope I don't lose that. It is a great deception of our world that evil doesn't actually exist. And we need to go back to the basics in our ministry. So we need to just go back to the basics of good and bad and what is right and wrong and what is truth and what is a lie. And just asking people do you actually believe in hell? And do you actually believe in good and evil? And are they worth fighting? Or is it worth fighting for against that kind of stuff?
Well, that's like family. The reason families aren't succeeding anymore is no one's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
We're all about ourselves, where you look at how the Bible teaches what a family is, what a husband and wife are. The vows that you take, death do us part, it means you're going to fight for one another through health, through despair.
Yeah.
But we're taught now that, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can find someone else.
Yeah.
When inherently that is wrong. And not to get on a denomination.
You're only allowed one rant per episode.
All right, I better not get on this one because it's so true, but it leads down to everything. I mean, I grew up in a family without a father. And if I use that generational curse to dictate how I'm going to love my wife, I wouldn't be with my daughter right now. I'd be off gallivanting. Steven, you can attest to that.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing in my situation as well,
But you have to know good and evil is to know what's worth fighting for.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's what the Bible teaches us.
Yeah.
It teaches us not to fight for necessarily what's in this life.
Yeah.
It's teaching us to bring people with us, but you're fighting for the next.
And I think what's at least what most popular or a little bit maybe older stuff, but what most popular is like evil always loses, good always wins. Even when it looks like evil's going to win and like right around the corner, oh, I don't know if they're going to make it. Well, good always prevails, that sort of thing. And I think that's so good about a lot of our favorite fandoms and this pulp culture kind of stuff we talk about is it seems like they're going to lose at the end, with the different Avenger movies or Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know if they're going to make it. And at the very end of Lord of the Rings, they have to fight Gollum.
And you're like,
it's like, you got to be kidding me. They went all this way and they have to fight this stupid Gollum creature and he bites off his finger and you're like, oh crap, he won. He got the ring. That scene where he's like looking up at it. And I remember when the first movie came out, I knew someone that had read the books. And as soon as that first movie came out, I started reading the books and I asked her like, how does it end? And she's like, well, Frodo gets his finger bitten off. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she wouldn't tell me anymore. And I was like, so the ring doesn't get destroyed? Like, what do you mean? And so I had to read the books to find out and watch the movie. But it's like, even at the end in our walk today, like I'm talking everyday walk, we have an enemy and he wants to make us believe that we are fighting a losing battle. And right now, if you look out in the world, like you were talking about earlier,
it's easy to get discouraged.
Definitely looks like we're fighting a losing battle.
And I think that's what gives evil so much context nowadays. People look at it and it's like, well,
what's the
all
point?
All the bad's happening.
Yeah.
Let's just do what we want. No.
Yeah.
When we walk our walk, we learn steadfastness.
Mm-hmm.
And steadfastness is that maturity we've been talking about, to know that no matter how much evil's in the world, good will triumph ultimately. Because I know at the end of this book, it says every knee will bow.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean just the knees that believed. It means everyone. The knees that didn't.
I think even past, present, and future.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that has a knee.
Animals, everything. They're going to bow because they realize, and it's so easy for us to follow that bad side because we already know it's good.
So in retrospect, what to remember is just I was in Ephesians 5 already.
Oh yeah.
With kind of the directions.
Yeah.
But this chapter of Ephesians 5 is called Living in the Light. So
it's a great chapter.
Yeah, I'm going to read just 1 and 2 and then 10 through 13.
Okay.
So 1 and 2 is imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. He loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice to us as a pleasing aroma to God.
It sounds pretty good.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. This is what you do. Imitate Christ and love people because he sacrificed and gave it all.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, and then
I was talking to Marissa earlier about how we just overcomplicate
the simple message.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of like, I think of when Jesus talks about let your light shine. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket or under a bed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So why?
Also dangerous.
Yeah.
I've never heard a pastor talk about that, but it's kind of dangerous to light something on fire and put a basket over it.
Or under a bed.
It's the same thing as if you were a Christian and you had the fire and the light inside you and you didn't share it, you're going to implode.
Or, thinking about it too, the light will go out.
Or it'll either implode or it'll smother.
Yeah, it'll smother it, and the fire will actually go out because it doesn't have any oxygen. I never thought about that either.
And then
okay, keep going. Sorry, Steve.
Oh, sorry. 10 through 13. Carefully determine what pleases the Lord and take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness, and instead expose it. It is shameful to even talk about the things that are ungodly that people do in secret. But their evil intentions will be exposed when the light is shined upon it, for the light makes everything visible.
And I think that's the thing that we need to do the most today, is we need to expose what is bad.
Yeah, we need to be a light.
But hey, listen, Navi. Hey, listen. That's such a cool concept. The exposing. We are well, we're not light. We carry the light in us.
Yeah,
What is light?
We're just a torch.
What does light do when it goes into darkness? It exposes it. It doesn't even have to try.
No.
Like just you being the light of
Just
Christ,
you being the torch.
going into a room, you're going to face persecution for this probably. But like people are going to know.
Yeah, because you're the light. All
crap.
the attention's going to be
Yeah,
on you.
you're
Because
you're exposing my bad attitude. The way that I'm living is not good.
and you'll be attacked for it.
You're going to be attacked for it, but greater is he that living in you than he that lives in the world, right? So when you're exposing that stuff, just being the light, like that's good enough. Just expose it, and then hopefully the Holy Spirit will work on those people.
Well, that's like I think of the ending of this, or like, so Matthew 5 is known as the Sermon on the Mount.
Right.
And 5 itself is known to be kind of like the Beatitudes. Well, if you look at 5:10 through 12, it says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. You are blessed when they insult you and persecute you and falsely say every kind of evil against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, because your reward is great in heaven. For that is how they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Jesus also goes later on and says, they're going to persecute you because they persecuted me.
Yeah.
And it's true. When we call out bad in this world, we get labeled
Labeled as crazy.
crazy, haters. Oh, you're just intolerant, all this stuff. No, we're calling out what's inherently
I'm just
wrong.
telling you what's good, what's evil.
What's right and what's wrong. So listen to this. We live in a culture that wants to be able to define what is good and what's bad, right? God is the only one that can do that. Just like God created the law of gravity, he also created the laws that determine good and not good. And that's the phrase that like
I need
evil.
that tattooed.
What?
Just that.
Just that?
Yeah, after that, I just want to be like,
I mean, think about it. Like the whole concept of good and evil, it's really just good. Anything that is not God is not good.
yeah.
Like the whole absence of stuff.
yeah, darkness and evil. I mean,
Evil,
darkness
evil
is the absence
people-
of light.
Yeah, I think that's the whole. Yes, exactly. Like the whole idea of evil being this like opposite force that God is fighting against. No, that's
It's
not.
just the absence of God.
It's just what God is not in. That's that. You know what I mean?
I got them goosebumps. Holy Spirit activate.
Yeah, right. I hope he does. But
getting hot in
I
here.
had to start having
so anyway,
in my
so we tried, and again, we make things so overly complicated where it's just like, no, if it's not good, let's be real, guys, don't do it. If you're not doing something good, don't do it. So God is good. Evil is the absence of God, the absence of good. You know.
Yeah, all I can think about now is, oh, honey, it's getting hot in here.
Ooh, Lordy.
Honey, you go get me a glass of water. We're
glass of water.
going to be here a while.
Take my jacket off. If I had a jacket, I'd take it off. So anyway, going into the evil, so darkness is the absence of light. You know, we talked about that. But what did God not create? Chaos. Like before God started creating, there was chaos.
He created the universe out of chaos.
right?
Yeah.
And so what do we as humans do?
create
Create
chaos.
chaos.
We're, for whatever reason, especially if you have little kids, like they create chaos. It's
Well-
what we innately do.
If you look at, if you want to look scientifically, right? Okay. So matter
on your-
can't-
put on your
You
spectacles.
can't create matter. Matter is either there or it isn't. You
Yeah.
can't create something new.
It just changes form.
And that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
God took the chaos of the world and changed it to good.
Right.
We as people try to do the opposite.
And
We
he-
take what is good and turn it to what's bad.
Yeah, he took the dust and he made the animals and man out of the dust.
Yeah.
And going out to you ladies, human women are the only thing that God did not create out of dirt. He created human women out of flesh and blood.
That's a cool thought.
That's why they're special.
That's cool.
Hey, that should get us browning points with all our wives.
Yes.
You're special.
They are special. Hey, listener, if you have a wife, my wife has a podcast.
Yes, she does.
Because it's probably mostly guys that listen to this. It's Birth in the Bible. Very cool stuff. It's actually, I tell her like she stole the idea from me, but like it's very much like this of like, but it's birth stuff, baby stuff, all that motherhood, and then the
A
Bible.
lot of good information.
It's she's a nurse. She that's all she talks about. All I want to talk about is nerdy stuff. All she wants to talk about is birthing. And I'm like, can we meet in the middle? Like, is there a nerdy thing that like is
Nerdy birthing.
You know what my wife tells me?
What's that?
Talk to you while she talks to your wife.
Yeah.
My wife just delivers mail.
Hey,
Hey man, someone's got to do it.
important.
Somebody's
It's
gotta
very
do it.
important. So yes, God created everything out of nothing, out of the chaos. Wild and waste is a word that they use a lot. So anyway, what is good?
baby, don't hurt me. Sorry.
Only one person is good. That's God. That's Mark 10:18 is what he talks about. So when Jesus and Paul talk about the world that is not of God, so anything like that, they shouldn't be in your life. So Jesus, a lot of times in Paul, talks about the world, this and that, and it's evil and that sort of thing. In the world, it could mean a lot of things. It could mean your flesh. It could mean the enemy. It could mean like the actual world, people around you, culture, like all that kind of stuff. And all of that is, it's not even the enemy. It's just so whatever is easy or good or pleasing or comfortable, and all that kind of stuff is all worldly stuff that we don't need to be messing with at all. I can't even look at Steven because you look so holy with that sun behind you. So I ask you, I want to end on this, listener, viewer on YouTube, whatever. What is good and what is bad in your life right now? Not necessarily asking like, what would you change as far as bad? Like, there's some things we can't change, but there are some things you can change. So what could you change in your life right now that you can go towards what God says is good? Or
What
away,
negatives can you turn into a positive?
yeah, or going away from what God says is bad. And if you don't know, open up your Bible, and even if it's just one thing that you can change, whether that be music you're listening to, any other kind of media, maybe a relationship, like what is God asking you to change for him? Right. And I implore you, anytime I've grown in my life towards God, is this kind of question of like, God, if you're not in it, I don't want it.
And don't be ashamed to either ask someone if you're afraid to open it, you don't know where to find it, you'll get lost. Don't be afraid to Google it or ask someone,
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to do
Google is not like the world, the enemy, like Satan. That's not it at all. Like so many times with studying for this stuff, I'll Google it, a question. Yeah. And then look it up in scripture or something like that.
Don't look it up on the internet. Actually get the word, get the Bible, or if you have the Bible app or, the Living Word app.
Yeah.
Look it up instead of just relying on Google for that. But if you want to ask the question, Google will tell you where you could find it.
And it's one of those things that it's not just going to happen overnight.
Right.
It's going to be a continual journey, and just don't get discouraged.
Yeah, don't get discouraged. And main thing of all, too, don't lean on the shovel and pray for your hole to be dug.
Reverend Brown.
And on that,
thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. We pray for you. Please be praying for us in this ministry.
good night and God bless.
Good night and God bless.
Thank you so much for listening to the Nerds in Christ podcast. Our goal is always to give glory and honor to God in all things and share the love and light of Christ everywhere.